Hey guys, this is Dimensional Sight back with another video to show you today. And I have turned up the audio microphone settings, and I'm hoping this is a lot easier for you guys to hear me this time without distorting my voice too much, because there's kind of a balancing act that you got to do with that. So I will try to speak up so you can hear me clearly. And let's start talking about this photograph right here. So this photograph was taken off the internet. I was inspired by Roger in Kansas City's work on Mount Meru, and I went ahead and just went to start page, looked at images larger than 10 megapixels, typed in Mount Meru India, and this is one of the top 5 or 10. And I don't know who these guys are. I didn't take this picture. These guys are obviously having a good hiking trip there. It's an amazing landscape, but this one was a lot of fun because this is the image that keeps on giving right here. There is so much stuff to look at in this one, and I found a lot of stuff, and there's probably a ton more that I haven't even seen. So let's get right into it and talk about this picture of Mount Meru, India, which I believe they consider like this peak over here to be the mountain peak. Um, when I first started looking at this, well, let's just talk about the 800-pound elephant that's in the room. The actual first thing that I noticed was this rock right here. Um, it is so obviously a mud fossil. It didn't even take me long to figure it out. Um, this is the head of a reptilian type of creature stuck in this rock right here. There's his mouth, right there's his nose and his top of his head and the back of his head right here. And if you zoom in on it, and I'll get some settings here so we can see this better, you're going to notice the structure. I mean, he even has this eye looking at us in like a state of shock and fear as maybe the cataclysm hits him. I don't know if that's his real eye or what's up with that eye, because it almost makes him look alive when you see that eye. Um, but when you look at the ridges that go down the back of the head here, I mean, look at the V shape. The V shape. I mean, these are layers of scales going down. It looks like maybe somebody came along and broke off pieces of his scales here and took them home, or who knows what. But this part looks broken off back here. But I mean, look how obvious that is. So that was like the first thing I noticed. I looked all through these rocks. There's not really a lot of anomalies. I did find maybe some questionable things in there, but nothing to really look at much. Um, the next thing to look at that I kind of was just, as I was looking at everything that I noticed, was that to me, I came to the conclusion that this entire site that we're looking at was once a giant house or building of some sort, or several houses potentially. And obviously, it would have been gigantic humanoid creatures of some sort, giant humans, men of old, men of renown, something like that. I don't know if the Titans were capable of building these types of structures. I guess I'd have to do more research into that, but it's that massive of a house that's, for something like that to live in it. Um, and the reason I came to that conclusion is that the first thing that tipped me off was this image just kind of right here. This right here is what started me on that whole train of thought. And the reason why is that this right here sticking out looks like the beam that would go across, and it would be the large beam or one of the large beams that would hold up this roof. And this mountain has a very unusual feature that you don't see in a lot, where it has these straight lines that go down everywhere. All around these mountains, you'll see these straight lines coming down everywhere like this. And what these are is these are the shingles that were on the roof, covered up. Um, and you'll see the shingles too, because you'll see they have a certain distance, each shingle, and then they're layered on top of each other as the roof goes down. And then what you're seeing right here, see this triangle up and down, and then these windows? That's what these are right here. So what this was a feature like we put on the side of our houses. Um, they had this feature on the side of their roof where you could be inside here looking out. And you'll see that structure everywhere. And then the other part of that is this giant. I don't know if they call this the shark's fin or if that's a different location, but because based on another video I heard the shark's fin was in a different location than the peak, so I'm not quite sure. But this seems to be hollow here on the inside, is what it looks like from this picture. So very interesting. It has the top. It has the shingles on top. So I'm not quite sure what part of the roof this would have been or where this broke off from, because basically when the cataclysm hit, this whole house was destroyed, and then now we see snow on top of that destruction. But and then we're going to get to it later in this video, but there may be an entire civilization living here, so they've also been modifying it as well. So the other thing here is, as far as this structural component of these roofs is concerned, I'll give you some more proof of that over here. So in this giant mountain hillside here, you can clearly see the tiles. Here's one right here. Boom, boom, boom. That is like a perfect rectangle. And then you see and I'm going to talk about what these lines are, because we're going to zoom in on those as well. All these lines, these coming down. But yeah, there's tiles all over on this one. You'll see them everywhere. So you'll see there's a tile laying sideways there. There's another one right behind it, a shingle rather. Calling them tiles, they're basically roof shingles. Here's a part of it, and then that's kind of like to me it looks like a grass reed, like when you would put the shingles down, but then they were, I think, attaching some kind of a grass reed type of maybe for the roof on top of the shingle, just to make it look nice. I don't know, but there may also be more. It may be more than a grass and reed. It may be a structural type of building, because when you come down here and look at what was beneath the shingle, that's what you're seeing right here in these straight lines coming down. It's the structure, it's the framework of the roof is what that is. And if you zoom in on it, you'll see right here going up the middle of each one. That one's kind of worn away, but here you'll see the piece of, I believe, metal or rebar type of material potentially going up the middle of each of these beams that would have been used to build the roof structure. So you can see it right there on that one. So that's what I think we're seeing right there. And then this looks maybe like a tile still kind of covering this one up or something, or maybe just the mud got in there. And so I think that is what this site originally was. Now, this site, this picture is just crawling with anomalies everywhere. And I'll probably have to make more than one video about this picture alone, because there's probably going to be so many other things that we find that we'll just keep coming back to it and looking at more and more things. So I guess where I'll start there, I might even have forgotten. I didn't write even all of them down. I'm just gonna have to go from memory here. So we'll start up in this upper left-hand corner. There's actually a ton of stuff up here. It doesn't look like it right away, especially when you're zoomed out like back here. You wouldn't think there's a whole lot. But I was looking up there and it's full of stuff. So let's look at it. Um, First of all, you'll notice there's that building material that's been all busted up, kind of a look up here. There's like a tile look right here with this uh, rectangle, and then it appears to have some kind of carving on it or something. We'll look at that a little closer because there's a more interesting thing happening right here. But up here, one of the first things I noticed was there's a head right here, um, kind of just like almost like a human head with maybe a headdress on like that going over the top like a rainbow. Um, and then I started to notice that the light and shadow kind of creates some entities. You can kind of see some entities here. One of them is like inside the shadow. What the shadow does is it makes it look like an opening, like a cave that you could go in, and then you'll see guys inside of that. So like right there, that shadow makes it look like a cave in the side of the mountain, and then there's a guy inside there, looking at us. But there's also like this guy right here in the sunlight, and then you can see the shadow that he actually makes. Um, So there's like different ways of seeing these different dimensional with this dimensional sight technique. You're going to see like a lot of different images in different ways. You'll see them at different distances. The lighting condition matters a lot. That's why you don't see these things a lot with your naked eye when you're at these locations, because you're just it has to be like perfect timing for the light hitting it at this perfect direction for it to create the image. And so that's what you'll see a lot in this particular video that will on this picture, is that there's these, and you've seen them in some of my other videos as well, as these multi-dimensional images that you can see. And I'm assuming that throughout the day, all these different, and like Roger in Kansas City says, it's like a form of communication actually when they build these things, because only those who are trained to see them can see the stuff. Um, and so if you zoom in right here on this one, I was starting to see some kind of entities kind of standing here. Well, actually, the first one that I really noticed was this guy. It just looks like a guy right here to me. Like he's looking in this direction. He's looking away from us. He's not looking at us. He's looking like this. And I'm also getting the image of him riding. He's like riding a little creature, like a little bird or something. Like he's sitting on it, or maybe he's standing in front of it. And then he's kind of on a cliff edge looking down this way is the image I see. And then there's maybe his buddies back here behind him, but it's kind of hard to make much out. But then what I noticed right away was directly beneath. Actually, let's oscillate this one a little bit. Maybe you guys are going to, because in this image you can just see all sorts of things kind of if you look at it for a while. You guys might be able to pick out some things I didn't even notice. But the first thing that I definitely noticed was right beneath that guy. And this is plain as day. This is a really good one, you guys, this find. This was kind of exciting when I saw it because it's just so plain as day. There is like a pickaxe right here. That is a pickaxe. Right there. Like a gold miner would have, I guess. Somebody swinging it. Is that like a carving on the side of this? But if you come down, it actually looks like it's attached. Like there's the pickaxe head, and then it comes down, and then it even looks like it's maybe attached to whatever it is that's sticking out of this rock. So I don't really know what it, like I was expecting to find a carving of a guy holding the pickaxe, but I don't really see that. It's almost like it's part of a machine of some sort. And then as I kept staring at this one, the thing I noticed was right here. is that this shadow, it's actually creating like I'll call it a negative image. Like that's how you can see a lot of these images, is they're actually created by the shadows. Maybe the entities themselves are cloaking themselves as shadows, and they're really there, and but we just can't see them with our naked eye because they're cloaking themselves as a shadow. That's another possibility. But basically, what I see right here is this is like the head of a demonic looking creature, and this is like his body, and he's like holding out his arm up in this direction, and he's holding something, and then maybe he's like stuck in the hillside by the waist down almost, or just above the waist, like the chest down. He's stuck, and then there's like this arm or something right here next to him on the ground, and it's almost like there's this whole. I'm gonna actually. I was able to see this image a little bit better in a different lighting. Let me see. Yeah. So I don't know. I got that image right there. Um, so that's some of the stuff I saw over in this location. And next, let me see. Was there any more on this map? There was more over here, but maybe it wasn't good enough to really show you guys. Uh, I remember looking over here at something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like a face on the wall over here too. Oh yeah, right up here. Okay, so right here, um, when you change the lighting a little bit right here, I think I had the brightness up. You can kind of start to see that there might be a little more than meets the eye right here. There's some faces that show up on the wall right here. And it just starts to kind of look like a build out of some sort right here. This is maybe like a face on the wall. And then there's this little peak up here. Yeah, that one's not a very good one though. There's a lot better ones we can go look at right now. Now this next one's pretty interesting. Um, so when I was looking over at this mountain with covered in the snow in the background, um, I zoomed in right here, and the first thing that I noticed was I felt like this was like a giant mud fossil of a guy of a giant here, and he's upset because he's maybe like in bed, like this was his blanket, and he's laying down, and then like here's his foot beneath the blanket here, and and he's like surprised because the cataclysm hits, and then he's caught in it, and then here he is frozen in time. So that was my first image I got, but I'm not really so sure about that one anymore. Um, because as I was looking at it, the one that really jumped out at me was I said, "Whoa!" Down where this guy's supposed giant's foot is, um, this is like an opening right here. Like this is a giant like a covering, and there's a bunch of people inside here. And by the way, doesn't this look like the head of a dragon right here? So check this out. It's like a dragon's head. See that? And there's his eye, and there's his little things that hang off his mouth a little bit. And then here he has an open mouth, and then there's all these guys in here, and maybe this is still the foot of a giant. Who knows? But because these do look like toes right here on the foot. But isn't that crazy? And then as you look at this tunnel opening, this is actually a multi-dimensional image, a 3-in-1, and maybe more. And the 3-in-1 is this. Not only does it look like a dragon's head right there, but if you pull back and you look at it a little more, and you just look at it from this being the whole head, it looks like the head of a boar. or maybe a bigger dragon of some sort. And instead of this being the eye, this is the eye right here on the creature. And then if you look at it from an angle like as though we're looking at it like this, there's an eye here and an eye here, and this is the nose of the, let's call it like a panther type of, or like a, like a cougar head. Okay, so that's three different things that you can see it as. And so that is one of the best things I think I found probably in this picture. I don't know, there's a lot of good ones in this particular video. This was a pretty interesting one. Um, let's look at these guys down here a little closer and what they might look like that are in this cave. So I kind of get the image of a four-legged creature here, and then here he is with like horns, so maybe like a deer with horns or something like that, or a bull. And then these maybe are more like humans or humanoids standing there. All right, so let's move on from that one. And let's go look at something else that was kind of interesting. So, over here, and this one's a little harder to see, but there is a giant statue or two right here in this, like, where the destruction of the house occurred. Maybe these were giant statues or giants themselves that were inside the house at the time of the destruction and now they're frozen in time. But what I'm seeing right here is a llama, and this guy's like sitting on it or riding on it, or he's standing in front of it. And the other thing I see here is a cityscape type of it's just the feeling I get. Like all the way along here, just these would be like little buildings and stuff. This is a building. This is a building maybe up here and up here and up, just everywhere, pretty much all over the place. But and then there's maybe some more carvings and things on the walls back here, or just more built into the mountainside type city structures. Up here, there's a guy. There's a guy. If you zoom in, right up here, right here, there's a guy. Let's go look at him. That's not a very good setting. Let's turn this down. So the sunlight in this picture is coming in from an angle like this in this direction. And you can see it on all the other parts of the photo. That's the direction of the light. And so you can see the light hits the back of this guy's hair right here, and as it goes forward, it gets more shadowed. And he's white. He's a white guy. He's like a Nordic fellow, I guess. He has a black shirt on, long sleeve black shirt maybe. And there's his hand, potentially. and I think he's looking down this way. He's up on this mountainside, so he's doing something up there. I don't know if he's like a watchtower guy, maybe. Not really sure what he's doing up there looking down this way, but don't know. And then there's some other stuff over here. So this right here looks like what's covered in snow now, but it does look like this head of a snake. The top half. This would be the top of the mouth, bottom of the mouth. And then this would be like a tunnel that you would go inside, or at least be covered and sheltered inside its mouth. And then you look down at the background mountains, and that looks like a giant potential Titan head right here. Also, this might be like a phallic symbol, but that's kind of, I don't know. I think this is more of a headpiece on the top of this Titan head, which could just be a carved head. And so here's the brow ridge and the eye, and then the nose, the mouth, the chin, and then it comes down and it forms maybe another head right there, the outline, and potentially a third head down here, potentially a fourth head up here. So this could be like almost like a totem pole of heads going up. And then this just could, maybe this is elongated skull beings as we know existed, because we have proof of their real elongated skulls from Peru and other places. And I was getting some kind of an image right here of like a giant, maybe goblin type head, but I don't know. Not a whole lot, really. And there's just so much more. None of it really substantial enough, I guess, to talk about. So I don't need to go on and on, I don't think, on this one. I'm going to keep looking at it and maybe like find, a lot of other. Definitely, I'll get pictures from other angles and all sorts of stuff on this Mount Meru, India, because there's obviously a lot going on here. So uh, I will go ahead and say bye for now, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the next video. I hope you had a good time. Go ahead, like them, subscribe, and share it out, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye.